Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. With the voice, Milt Thompson. Delivering the best of sports programming. Interviews with top celebrities. And the answer to the question, where are they now? And now, Milt Thompson, Playing for Keeps.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Playing for Keeps. I am your host, the voice, Milt Thompson, right here on WHMB Channel 40 every Friday night. You know, we've had some wonderful shows in the past, and thank you so much for participating, patronizing our great sponsors, Jiffy Lube and East Spot Spas and Hope Training Academy and others. Get out there and patronize them because they are making sure that you are getting not just good sports programming, the best in sports programming all in Central Indiana and even beyond. We've had great shows. We appreciate you keep on sending your letters and your cards and your emails and your text messages saying we really enjoy the sports programming. You do that by watching, and you do that by patronizing our great sponsors. You know, we also, every month, we have a Where Are They Now show. That's going to be tonight's show, is Where Is He Now? He's got a book we're going to talk about later in this show, and it says something about broken, and we'll explain more of that, but that's not him. He is what I call unbroken. So we're going to have a conversation with the unbroken one today, and that is going to be the unflappable but also unbroken one, which we're going to call, we had unflappable last week, but you're unbroken this week, and that's Walter Jordon. I've been getting complaints from you all. You say, well, God, you had Ray Tolbert on from IU, and you had other folks on there from the IU journalism people and running that down. So what about Purdue, man? You got Purdue stripes with you too. I said, I would have if Purdue had a law school. There might have been a little competition, but they didn't. But, you also, you got your little cousin Isaiah running with them in Purdue, and you have to be a fan every once in a while. I said, well, not a fan every once in a while, but with the unbroken one, we are a big fan. And we're going to come right back here after these short words and talk to the unbroken Walter Jordon.
Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube.
Welcome back to Playing for Keeps. I am your host, the voice, Milt Thompson, right here on WHMB Channel 40, the best in sports programming. And really thank all of you for writing in and saying how much you love this programming. We're going to keep it going for a while. And, every once in a while, once a month, we have a segment called Where Are They Now? That means we're talking about somebody, an upper echelon person, somebody who's really dedicated themselves to not only the world of sports, but to the world of business and philanthropy and helping and on this family station here about how it is they live out their faith throughout this world. And we have an unbroken one, and that's Walter Jordon. Walter, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Mr. Thompson. So good to see you, man. I'm honored to be here today and looking forward to our conversation.
Well, the Jordon family is a significant one, has been in our lives and the lives of many people around Indiana. They followed you as a high school basketball player, and a pretty great one, right? Tell us about that matriculation from high school, and we're going back to Fort Wayne, y'all, and tell us about Fort Wayne, how you became an all-star and some of your great games back then. I've read the stuff, but you can tell us the stuff.
Yeah, well, it's been all God, to be honest with you. One of 10 kids, 7 boys, growing up like a lot of us, poor, didn't have anything, but didn't realize we were poor because everybody looked like we looked. Everybody went through the same things we went through. That's all we knew until I got to high school. Went to high school in 71 when the busing started and the racial tension across the country because of the national, hey, we're going to do very great. We're going to make sure that everybody, get shipped out to these areas where no one wants us there, and we don't want to be there. And interracial schooling was trying to take place, and the busing and the riots, and I was a part of that class. And if you watch the movie Remember the Titans, that was seriously my story in my class. I remember the first day of school where people was getting thrown through the windows, people bringing chains and bats, and it was like a movie. And here I was, 15, 16 years old, caught in the middle of it. And I was afraid not of the fight. I was afraid of getting in trouble with my parents. I was more afraid of my parents than I was anything a student could do to me. So I knew I had to walk that tight line and couldn't get them, because was not how we were brought up. We was brought up to treat people no matter what color they were, religious, how we wanted to be treated. That's just how we were expected to behave. We had standards in the Jordan household, not rules, just standards. We treated people right. Long story short, went to Northrop, and first few weeks didn't know how we were going to survive, and then all of a sudden, because of sports, which you talk about a lot, it brought us together as teammates and then classmates, and we changed the whole school. So we started winning some athletic events on the field and on the course, and we developed a certain culture that spilled over to the student body. By the time we were seniors, we was only 3 years old, and our team was able to win the Indiana High School State Basketball Championship. Prior to that, I always say this, that I sucked alone, but put me on a team, I'm pretty damn good. So when I was in the 5th and 6th grade, I got cut from the basketball team. And all I wanted to do at that point was just get a uniform. I just wanted to be on the team. So I was lucky enough to make the 7th grade team, because they didn't cut anybody. So they kept 22 players on the basketball team, not because I was any good, but I was the 22nd best player on the team. So I made the team, and that gave me confidence and love being on the team. I found out I loved being on the team. And that's when I found out, when I was in 9th grade, that I could be really good with the right team. And so that was the attitude I had about life. And then when I got to high school, I became a leader. I grew 4 or 5 inches. I spent summer months down at IU. My brothers and sisters, my 2 other brothers and sisters went to Indiana University. So I can't be too mad at Indiana University, because they helped give my brothers and sisters an education, which we couldn't afford to have at the time. So
Walter, without dating yourself too much, I kind of come along in that same era, the same genre time, and late.
So look at you now,
early
right?
70s, right? So
Right.
that we could in family, but sports did have the galvanizing impact as
Absolutely.
it bled over into other things. So by we being in locker rooms, in diverse locker rooms and things like that, it made a difference on our education. So
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think about it, we were blessed. Like I said, we didn't have much. My mom made $56 a week. My dad worked 2 or 3 jobs, 10 kids, 7 nappy-head boys, in 1 bedroom. But we had so much love, and we couldn't use the word can't in our house. Can't was not allowed. You could say can't, but you better say yet after that. Can't yet.
Can't.
And
yet.
so we learned that. So when I saw my older brothers and sisters going to college, and I was in 8th, 9th grade, it was a standard. It wasn't like we Walt, you're going to college. See, but we all knew that 7 out of 10 of us went to college. We got our degrees because of that, because of the standards that were set by my older siblings. But they never would have gotten that opportunity. The new programs, government programs that came along back, your era and our era, that allowed them to go to school, which before they would never had an opportunity. And so I spent a lot of time at Jordan Hall, the Hyper Building in the summer months, which it helped me expand my vision to what's possible. And I remember telling my brothers coming into my senior year, no one knew who Northrop was, our 3rd year. And I remember telling my brothers and sisters, hey, we're going to be back here in Bloomington March 23rd playing for the state championship. Yeah, right. Okay, but it painted a vision. It gave me something to work for. And I got my teammates to buy into that. Hey, we can do this. We can get there. Northrop, we weren't right. No one expected us to do anything. That allowed me to win the state championship, play in front of 17,000 people, and literally in that 4-week period, go from having 1 offer at Edinburgh State University to almost anywhere in the United States, but UCLA and Notre Dame. That's because I was a 6'5" guard. We were able to win the state championship, and you know how state championships were back in those days. 1 state championship, 17,000 people, televised all over the country, because Indiana basketball was the cream of the crop. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to have this amazing 4-week span. And that's what happened, literally changed my life. So I understand what can happen in a short period of time if you believe and trust God and you with the right guys and right teams. And those guys are still like my brothers to this day.
Well, you excelled. You made the Indiana All-Star team,
Yes.
had a pretty good run with that. And then the opportunity started coming to you about being recruited to college.
Yes.
Tell us about that journey.
Well, like I said, you know, I lost my mom a week before my senior year. It was Thanksgiving weekend. I never forget. And we were supposed to play our arch rival, our first game the very next week. And I hadn't been to school, and my classmates and teammates were at my house in the city. Imagine this in the 70s. White folks coming to the heart of the inner city, which is you know, everybody in the neighborhood like, what the hell's going on? All these white folks in they probably never been in the inner city before, but they were there every night. I get emotional thinking about it. Those people are like family to me today, you know. But they come to my house every night, and so that Friday we were supposed to play our first game. My brother said, "My mom will want you to play, so you need to play because they've been here for you. You need to be there for them." I played that day. Something came over me. I couldn't even watch the JV game because I was so emotional. I didn't know if I'd be able to get through it. But the Lord saw fit that I hit 2 free throws from about a few seconds ago to win the game. And people said, well, how'd you play? So it had nothing to do with me. My mom was with me. My angel was with me. And she was with me that entire year and then some. My life changed literally because of my angel was in my life. She's still in my life to this day. Well, and in a chapter in my book, I talk about what my mom, chapter 8, what my mom meant to me, but I can't put it into words because she's just an amazing, amazing woman.
Well, you also kind of give me some recollections about my senior year of high school. I lost my mom on Valentine's Day in my senior year.
Wow.
So I know the power of we're seeking independence, right? But we're still hanging on to that apron.
Oh, absolutely.
So what are we going to do? And the same story is true. The white kids that I went to school with, they all come down to Community Baptist Church, right there in the middle of the hood downtown. So it was like there was something about our moms, right?
Absolutely.
That taught us that there's way, way more than what's happening right around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to make our mom proud. I'm 66 years old, and I still want to make my mom proud.
Exactly right.
Still means a lot to me. I'm still representing her in her last name.
Absolutely. I only got you by 1 year, but that's all right. But we have our moms to thank for us moving on up. It is the reason why you are the unbroken one that is here that had a great success story. And we're going to talk more about that success story as well as your book right after these short words. We'll be right back here on Playing for Keeps.
Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube. Playing for Keeps, presented by Jiffy Lube.
And welcome back to Playing for Keeps, everyone. I am your host, the voice, Milt Thompson, right here on WHMB Channel 40, every Friday night at 9 p.m. And where are they now? I know where he is now. The unbroken one is right here talking to us on this version of Playing for Keeps, and that is the unbroken Walter Jordon. Walter, unbelievable stories that we have to tell. And you've got your mother on your heart, and she's over you, and you knew how those free throws went in. You really did. You didn't know at the time.
Absolutely.
But they might have bounced off the rim, but they might have gone swish too. It doesn't really matter, does it? It's the result that you have. Well, you Indiana All-Star, recruited by folks. Tell us about that matriculation onto the Boilermakers.
But you know, it's just amazing how God works, and He's been doing it for as long as I can remember. Just 3 days after the state championship game, from having one offer to coming back to school because we won the state, the mayor of Fort Wayne gave the entire Fort Wayne Community Schools Monday off. So on Tuesday, I come back to school, and I'm in homeroom class, and my AD calls over the speaker to tell please have Walter come to my office right away. So as I get to the office, there's a guy sitting there that looked really familiar to me, and that was Coach Orr from the University of Michigan. He had flown in to see me right away. He wanted to be the first one in the door to offer me and invite me to come to Michigan for the weekend. So he leaves. I go back to my room. I'm trying to be like low key, but I'm so excited. I couldn't believe it. I said, Michigan's coach just left, from Edinburgh State to Michigan State in just 1 week. So he leaves, and there's another guy about an hour later comes, Bob Dunawall, assistant coach at IU. He shows up. They called me out of class again. What the world's going on, right? And so, long story short, that evening, I get ready to leave, and he said, come back to the office. The AD does. I go back to the office. There's a box of letters, handwritten letters from coaches all over the country that send overnight letters for me. And I'm looking, I stuck them in my book bag because I had to catch the bus. I didn't want anybody else to see what was going on, to think that, I was better than anybody, because this is new to me. But I was just so excited. I couldn't believe what was happening. So make a long story short, that Friday I took my first plane ride, my first flight ever on a plane, on a twin engine plane that Michigan had sent me to Michigan for the weekend. That's when my life changed. And I made the Indiana All-Star team and all the other stuff that came before. Played with guys like Wayne Radford, IU guys, my roommate, God rest his soul, Larry Bird was on that team, Roy Tate. I mean, this is a great All-Star team. We were really good. And, of course, beat Kentucky twice, and then we beat the Russians, all national teams. So from there, I ended up going to Purdue because of Eugene Parker. They weren't even my top 4 choices. My top 4, everyone assumed I was going to Indiana because my 2 brothers and sisters went to Indiana. Then Coach Knight assumed that too. And then Michigan State, and Marquette. Purdue was number 5. And Eugene Parker, who God rest his soul, who became a very, 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 very close friend of mine, a brother, teammate, roommate at Purdue. I was just so in love with him, his character, who he was. He went on to be one of the top agents in the country.
In fact, I was representing primary basketball. He was representing football. We didn't want a football player to lead the state of Indiana, so we collaborated on the football player. Anyway, awesome. God rest his soul. We did spend a lot of time discussing agency, sports, and our heroes.
So you know the quality of individual he was.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to play with someone like that I could trust. Milton, some of the most important qualities that you want to know as a player. You want to know, can I trust my teammates? So I'll be able to trust my coach. Coach want to know, can he trust the player? Can he trust, when they're not around? And I wanted to play with, like I had that in high school. I wanted the same thing in college. So Eugene was a big part of my decision of why I ended up going to Purdue.
So once you get to Purdue and you come with the pedigree, how does that play out that you make it all the way kind of like NBA quality player? I mean, that doesn't just usually happen for anybody, no matter how good you are, right? There have to be some ups and downs in that road.
It has to be really, everybody say good and lucky, but good in God. And because percentages are so slim. I mean, I played in the era where, in my opinion, were the best era to play professional sports or played in the Big Ten. We had Michael Thompson, McHale, Magic Johnson, Ricky Greenfield. Indiana was undefeated 2 years in a row with Wilkerson, May, and Benson, and the 6 guys that got drafted by the NBA. I mean, every Big Ten team had NBA players on it. So you had to perform at a high level. And so it was a blessing to see how God helped my development. I grew 3 inches. I came in at 6'5". I grew to be 6'8". I was recruited to play guard. I ended up playing small forward my freshman year. And that was a blessing as well, which I didn't think at the time. So, but it was just an unbelievable experience. Great teammates, Joe Barry Carroll, Jerry 16, played with Cal Macy 1 year, Wayne Walsh. I can go on and on and on, Bruce Parkinson. We just had great talent. But when we came up in the era, there's only 32 teams to make the dance. You remember that?
Yes,
Not
I do.
64 or 68 like now.
That's correct.
You had to win the Big Ten
in order to go.
And had to go to the cups. We never finished any worse than 3rd. But we only went to the dance 1 year.
1 year. Mm-hmm.
1 year. So it's just sign of times.
Well, that's just a who's list of players that you played with and against. But out of all of that, they emerged some very good, solid, and some great players. Tell me a couple stories about playing with someone great and against someone great, and who would you pick out?
Well, being from Indiana, it's Larry Bird, because he's my era. We came out of high school the same year, but he went to Indiana, then he transferred to Indiana State. So
right.
He was a year behind me as far as eligibility because he sit out that year. But Larry and I was friends in the Indiana All-Star game. Just had a lot of respect for him. I started ahead of Larry Bird in the Indiana All-Star series. And everybody said, you did what? But in his book, his first book, he wrote that the reason why he didn't go to Purdue is because I had already committed to Purdue. And then Wayne Wall. So that, to me, is an early respect. Later on, he might not have said that, but he said that in his book. And we ended up playing against each other at Purdue. And when he was a freshman, I was a sophomore now. We beat him at Purdue. We go back to Indiana State. We had just beat Alabama, Louisville. And Larry and I just played on the World University game team together. We won the gold medal with Coach Denny Crum, and we played Sofia, Bulgaria. We had an awesome team. Like 9 of those guys went, first, second round NBA drafts. That's how good that team was. And I was lucky to be one of the 12 guys selected from 37 people trying out. So Larry and I was on that team, and we would talk trash. Phil Hubbard would talk about Michigan's going to kick Purdue's butt, and Bird would say we can't wait to get Purdue. And Indiana State at the time was not Indiana State.
Right.
They were just not known.
Right.
But Larry had told me all summer long, we're gonna kick your butt. You're gonna take it. We're like, Indiana State, we're gonna beat you last year. And we talked. We worried about Indiana University. So we're playing. We're getting ready to play them. I'm telling the guys, hey, we just beat Alabama. We just beat Louisville. We just beat them back to back. So we ranked 6th in the country.
Right.
And everybody's, wow, this Purdue's got a really good song. We're gonna be strong. So I said, you guys don't understand. This is going to make Indiana State's season if they beat us. And we get there an hour before the game because we stayed at the hotel right across the street. We got there hour and 15 minutes before the game. And Eugene Park and I was supposed to do a pregame television. So we were still in our street clothes. They wanted to do a quick talk with us. They couldn't even talk to us because the place was packed. It was packed out. I mean, hour and 15 minutes before you think the game had started. They were booing us the entire time. I went back in the locker room and said, guys, they put on an absolute show. I don't think they missed a shot, and they beat us. But I always remember that because that to me has told me so much about Larry Bird. And he had a great game. I think the headline saying a pro beats Purdue, whatever.
Well, he is a pro and was a longtime pro. You became a pro also. And you played for a few squads, and you've been able to leave your marker as well. And all the way up in the time, the Unbroken One writes a book about brokenness. You got a few minutes here, to tell us a little bit about your book, Walter, and how people can get it.
The title is Gracefully Broken. I believe at one point, all of us have been broken. I always say God has a way of breaking the unbreakable. So stay humble. He has a way of breaking the unbreakable. People who think they're unbreakable, God will humble you. So I thought about the time during the pandemic when everybody's lying, everybody's pointing fingers, like your fault, it's your fault, it's their fault. And I always say, if you want to change the world, get with the kids. I believe kids are going to change the world. If we want the world to change, our kids are going to have to change it because we know what's going on with these adults. So if you don't know what's going on with adults, get on Twitter. It'll disappoint you like you wouldn't believe. 50, 60-year-old kids. It will blow you away.
Exactly.
How we can't get along.
The Unbroken One, Gracefully Broken, is the book. And all of you are going to look that book up. You're going to read it. And then you're going to report back here for the one who is here. Where are they now? That is Walter Jordon. Walter, thank you so much for being on the show today. And you're going to say one last quick second.
Yes, you can get the book at Amazon.com and Target.com.
Amazon.com, and there you go, got it. You know it. Come right back here next week for Playing for Keeps, and thank you so much, Walter Jordon.